wrote. I'd forgotten.
I noticed it.
And I was like,
I didn't know if it was intentional.
no. But I was like, man, so simple. But part of the process.
So I'm gonna say I was going to go visit my recollection had his wedding day.
Oh,
So we're getting married at the Desert Botanical Gardens, and then we're having a reception at St. Luke's yesterday. Reception.
I almost always go after reception.
Yeah.
Maybe I sleep for cocktail hour.
The cocktail hours right
Or
here.
at least when I don't have a single drink that's not supposed to.
I'm not dropping into restaurants.
Yeah. Yeah, as of right now, other than this was flag football game tomorrow, it was an unintentional start, which sounds like we should do this, but although a week from tomorrow is we're having Rabbi Circle and we're so good, and also Kabbalat Shabbat, which is a ton of I was debating and see like I may as well just donate it for the rest of time. I think that I'm going to do butternut squash soup and there's this pears and something and then I'll make this got something salmon thing because it sounds like we should have enough this and that leftover from the rabbis for this
Sounds delicious.
I was like, what can I mainly make with it?
Great.
Just do that. If we're just friends over, I'd probably just stick with like super crusty roll, but I feel like some people don't want like a main for
I had a buddy that's been many, many years ago. I don't remember her. We were like chatting. She said prepare the salmon dish. Run will not let me the main ingredients are maple syrup, tamari, very garlic, and new shallots, not just garlic.
right. I was debating. I was thinking like some sort of like teriyaki maple kind of, but I don't know if people go with butternut squash soup.
Oh, definitely.
Do you think so?
Absolutely. I would.
I mean, I would have to like that, but you know. Yeah, shall we see if we're
We're going to get started here in just a moment. If people want to find their seats. I know it's so nice to see so many people that we love and care about, people who are in our social circle, and yet it's important that we remember the very sad occasion that brings us together here. So why don't we just take a breath as we settle in, just think about our Brian. And we just yesterday on this bima, read a traditional prayer for those of you who are not familiar with Jewish religious practice. And one of the most meaningful moments in the service is when we talk about who shall live and who shall die, and we pose the question, who in their time and who before their time. And just speaks to me so powerfully about this terrible loss that has come to our community, who before their time. The rabbis say that when a fig is plucked ripe from the tree, it's good for the fruit and it's good for the tree. But when the fig is plucked too soon, it is not good for the fruit and it is not good for the tree. And I think we all can agree that Brian was plucked much, much too soon from our midst, and it is not good for any of us. Mourning, we learn, is the price that we pay for having the courage to love others. Even in our grief, we know that the wonder of human life is too complex and too magnificent to be memorialized in endless pain. The gifts of spirit our loved ones gave us cannot be measured or weighed, nor can they be lost or even tarnished by time. Even in our darkest hours, we know that some of their light and warmth will always be with us, bringing comfort and courage, and in the fullness of time, healing and peace. I'm going to read a few verses of the 23rd Psalm in Hebrew, and then I'll invite you to join me in reading the translation. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai ro'i lo echsar, bin ot deshe yarbitzeni al me menuchot yanachaleni, nafshi yeshovev yancheni b'magle tzedek leman shemo. Gam ki elech begetz hamavet lo irara ki ata imadi shiftecha umishantecha hema yenachamuni. Let's read together. Adonai is my shepherd, I shall not want. God makes me lie down in green pastures, leads me beside still waters, and restores my soul. You lead me in right paths for the sake of your name. Even when I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You have set a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of God forever. I'm going to continue chanting a few verses of Psalm 121. I think that for those of us who live in this beautiful valley, the words, I lift my eyes to the mountains, from where will my help come, particularly resonate. Esa einai el harim me'ayin yavo hezri. Esa einai el harim me'ayin yavo ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai oseh shamayim va'aretz. Ezri me'im Adonai oseh shamayim va'aretz. I'm going to continue now with a beautiful poetic reflection written by Rabbi Sylvan Kamens and Jack Reamer. When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old men who wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved. And if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not your mind. You can love me most by letting hands touch hands, by letting bodies touch bodies, and by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die, people do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away.
This poem is called The Dash by Linda Ellis. I read of a man who stood to speak at the funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates on her tombstone from the beginning to the end. He noted that first came the date of her birth and spoke the following date with tears. But he said that mattered most of all was the dash between those years. For that dash represents all of the time that she spent alive on earth, and now only those who loved her know what that little line is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is how we live and love, and how we spent our dash. So think about this long and hard. Are there things you'd like to change? For you never know how much time is left that can still be rearranged. If we could just slow down enough to consider what's true and real, and always try to understand the way other people feel, and be less quick to anger and show appreciation more, and love the people in our lives like we've never loved before. If we treat each other with respect and more often wear a smile, remembering that this special dash might only last a little while. So when your eulogy is being read with your life's actions to rehash, would you be proud of the things they say about how you spent your dash? When a person is born, we all celebrate, and when a person dies, we cry. But there are those who say that it shouldn't be this way. Rather, when a person is born, perhaps it's not appropriate to celebrate him because no one knows what his portion will be, on what deeds he will stand. Will he be righteous or wicked, good or evil? But when he dies, there are some who say we should indeed rejoice, for he has passed away with a good name, and he is now at peace. It's like the parable of two ships near a harbor. One was going out to sea and the other was coming in from its voyages. Everyone around the harbor was celebrating for the one setting out, while no one celebrated the ship coming in. Someone came along and said, "These actions are backwards. We shouldn't celebrate the ship that's first starting out on its journey because none of us knows what it shall encounter out there. How long will it last? What storms will it face? Likewise, we should celebrate for the one that's returning home because it enters in peace. So it is when a person dies. Brian's ship has come into its eternal harbor once again. His soul returned to the universe with a good name, with a well-deserved reputation for kindness and humor, having lived righteously in this world. Not only do we mourn his loss, we celebrate and remember him fondly as his ship has come home."
Early or late, all must answer the summons to return to the source of being, for we loose our hold on life when our time has come, as the leaf falls from the bough when its day is done. The deeds of the righteous enrich us all, like the fallen leaf enriches the soil beneath. The dust returns to the earth, and the spirit lives on with God. Like the stars by day, our beloved dead are not seen by mortal eyes. They shine on forever. Theirs is eternal peace. Let us be thankful for the companionship that continues in a love that is stronger than death. We give thanks together as we remember Brian today, with gratitude that he no longer suffers and his soul is at peace. I will invite you to rise as you are able at this time, as we will continue with El Malei Rachamim, the memorial prayer. El Malei Rachamim, Shochein Bamromim, Hamtzei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei HaShchina, Im Kedoshim Utehorim, Kezohar Harakia Mazhirim, Et Nishmat Ephraim, Shahalach Lolamo, Bal Harachamim Yastirehu, Beseter Knafam Lolamim, Vayitzrar Bitzorachayim Et Nishmato, Adonai, Unachalato, V'yanuach b'shalom amishkavo, v'nomar, Amen. Fully compassionate God on high, to our loved one Brian, who has entered eternity, grant him clear and certain rest with you in the lofty heights of the sacred and pure, whose brightness shines like the very glow of heaven. Source of mercy, forever enfold him in the embrace of your wings. Secure his soul in eternity. Adonai, he is yours. May he rest in peace. Amen.
Please be seated. Brian Francis Gaddy was born in Brooklyn, New York on June 13, 1978, the eldest of Richard and Charlotte's two boys. He's survived by his brother Chris. We extend our condolences to Chris and Sydney and to Charlene, who joins us here today as well. Apparently, he was a bit of a troublemaker as a child, infamous for setting fires, among other shenanigans. Ask the family about the chocolate in the car engine incident. The family moved to Manalapan, New Jersey, where Brian graduated from high school. He met his beloved Michelle on J-Date in 2005. And they were engaged within 9 months and married in October 2007. November would have been 20 years together for them. Michelle says that what attracted her to him was that he was smart, funny, and interesting, qualities that he brought to his relationship and to his parenting. One of Brian's many special gifts was always being able to be aware of his children's interests and going out of his way to learn more so that he could share their fun and their joy. Max recalls a special trip to Portal, Arizona, where Brian loved showing Max the rocks and plants and enjoying the night sky together. Always an incredibly creative and gifted storyteller, he invented Annabelle princess stories for her at night and even made a scavenger hunt for her to explore when she got into spy videos. Brian himself was a great writer and published a work of fiction that is available on Amazon. One of Brian and Michelle's favorite things to do with each other was to brainstorm characters and story development in their writing. He was an avid reader who particularly enjoyed fantasy, a quality that found its way into Dungeons and Dragons and other role plays. He had lots of silly voices, and when he was in character, he was in character. Brian and Michelle enjoyed hiking and painting and drinking wine. They liked to go out to eat, and Brian especially liked to watch the British baking show, on which they would place wagers. They just laughed a lot together. As a couple, they decided that Leap Day was special, and so they would plan unique activities, a trip to Saguaro Lake, to Las Vegas, and even a cruise to celebrate Leap Day. Michelle appreciates how her husband helped her to get over her self-consciousness and just being more comfortable being silly. Michelle commented that she was recently looking at family photos and she was struck how Brian was always right there in the action with his children. As a dad, Max said that Brian was either too strict or too lenient. There was no middle ground. He nurtured their creativity and encouraged them to express their individuality. Dad jokes were his passion. He had so many. Dad, I'm hungry. Hello, hungry, I'm Dad. Dad, I'm serious. I thought you were hungry. You're kidding me. No, I'm Dad. Brian loved kids in general. Michelle says that when he dropped his own children off at daycare, he would often stay to play with the class, using his immense creativity to engage them in imaginative play. Then there was the year that he and Jeremiah created a Purim show for the kids. In fact, Brian touchingly said that when he's gone, he'd like to come back as some child's imaginary friend. And as much as he loved kids, we can't forget how Brian loved dogs as well. The family had many opportunities to travel, including many trips to Flagstaff, the beaches in Los Angeles, San Francisco, and of course, Disneyland. Brian loved the beach and enjoyed 2 cruises. He completed a business degree at the University of Phoenix, and when his Thunderbird master's program in international business took him to China, Japan, and Prague, Alex and Michelle joined him as they continued to Budapest and Vienna. And even in Eastern Europe, finding his way to the beach was a priority. Brian took the family to New York and New Jersey, where they did all the usual tourist sightseeing activities. And they celebrated Max's bar mitzvah with a trip to England, where Annabelle and Brian famously got lost going to the Doctor Who Museum. At work, Brian was known as an exceptional mentor and team leader. He had the gift of enabling his colleagues to find their true path and to realize their potential. He was a great motivator. Michelle commented on the staggering number of folks who have reached out to her as they have heard of his death, every one of them commenting on what an inspiration he had been. Among the multitude of comments on her Facebook page, we read, "He was a great man and left that greatness in the kids." I'm so sorry, Michelle. You, your kids, and the world will miss a bright light. We all resonate with these words. Brian was known for his generosity. There was always a tzedakah box in his home where he would deposit his spare change, and engage the children in deciding where to make donations. Max described his dad as routinely doing casual mitzvot, like the time he exited the grocery store and saw a person who was homeless. Brian went back into the store to buy them a rotisserie chicken. Observing their dad in action was a great way for Brian to transmit his values to his children. The Gotti home was the place that welcomed anyone who did not have a place to go for Thanksgiving, and peanut butter and fluff was one of his favorite nights of the year. Learning about other cultures was a top priority for Brian, and he is the one who insisted that Annabelle and Max attend a Spanish-Chinese charter school. Brian and Michelle have a variety of scriptures in their house, and he even took the kids to a Sikh temple to enhance their cultural knowledge and sensitivity. According to Michelle, it was also Brian who encouraged the family to join Temple Chai. They are so grateful for the incredible community they have built in this congregation. Some of their closest and best friends were made here. Annabelle's bat mitzvah was an especially poignant moment for all of us. As the service began, Brian was with us here on the bima on an iPad so that he could participate in the prayers, and Annabelle could have her father's loving gaze with her. How shocked I was to receive a note during the service telling me to prolong the service and to watch on the iPad as Brian was lifted into the back of a vehicle to come in person to Temple Chai. Eventually, I was unable to stall further and just announced that we were pausing the service to await Brian's arrival. And when he entered the sanctuary, I don't think that there was a dry eye in the house. Brian stressed to his children to be kind to everyone, and he evidenced that quality during the difficult time toward the ends of his life as his health declined, and he was so sad about potentially being a burden to his family. Naturally, he was sad and angry about the turn his life had taken and everything that he would miss, yet he was never mean or demanding. Yet we know that he was suffering, and so his death comes perhaps with a merciful sense of release from pain. We can best honor his memory by renewing our own commitment to the values that he held dear. Zecher Tzadik Livracha. May the memory of the righteous be for blessing. Amen. I'd like to share now a poem by Gertrude Hildreth Hausmann. The poet writes, I came into the world without being asked, and when for the time for dying comes, I shall not be consulted. But between the boundaries of birth and death lies the dominion of choice, to be a doer or a dreamer, to be a lifter or a leaner, to speak out or to remain silent, to extend a hand in friendship or to look the other way, to feel the sufferings of others or to be callous and insensitive. These are the choices. It is in the choosing that my measure as a person is determined. We're going to invite Michelle now to share a few words, and she invites everyone back to her home to share more Brian stories at the conclusion of our time together.
My dad was an incredibly wonderful person. He was adventurous, he was creative, and he was a good person. He made sure everyone he knew was cared for properly. If they were going through a hard time, he would make sure that they were well cared for and that he constantly checked up on them. I remember my dad today as a wonderful person. He took me on adventures. He showed me the wonders of creativity, both using imagination and Minecraft. He was one of the best people I've ever known, and I will miss him every day.
So happy to have all of you here. Brian is honored by all three of his amazing children and all of his family and friends. Okay, Brian would have been honored, as are we, to have all of you here today. Some of you have come from out of state to join us, and others who purposely stayed in town just to be here today. We've been blown away by the outpouring of love and support from everyone, and we are so grateful to each and every one of you for being here today to remember and celebrate Brian. Brian was weird, loving, generous, supportive, and weird some more. And I know he was grateful to have all of us as a part of his story. Speaking of stories, as Rabbi said, we invite all of you back to our home immediately after this service to share your stories of Brian so that we can all laugh together and enjoy some time together. So we're really excited to have everyone back and to have lots of stories and laughs and just time to remember him. That was it. Good? Okay.
Thank you so much. This is a meditation before Kaddish by Rabbi Naomi Levy. I'm worn out, God. The grief is heavy on me. It drags me down. It holds me in its grip. But just as my loved one lives on with you, I pray for the strength to live on here, to honor the blessing of life, with goodness, with kindness, with courage, with hope. God, ease my pain. Lift me from this loneliness. Fill me with compassion for all who mourn and for all who suffer. And let the love that never dies be my guide. We'll conclude with the Mourner's Kaddish, the Kaddish Yatom. You have that on your handout. We'll invite you to please rise and then remain standing as we sing together, Oseh Shalom. Yitgadal v'yitgadash Shemei Rabbah, v'yalma divrach yirtei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'bizman koriv v'mru amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'la'omeomaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shmei dekudusha brichu. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran v'yalma v'yimru amen. Yehei Shlama Rabbah min Shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh Shalom b'imromav, huya aseh Shalom. Aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Oseh Shalom b'imromav, huya aseh Shalom. shalom bimromav uyaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen.
Thank you all for being here.